Shuttle Enterprise set to land in 4 or 5 minutes at JFK. That does it for me. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carol Costello. Kira Phillips, take it away.
All right, thanks so much, Carol. Hello, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. It is 11 o'clock on the East Coast, 8 o'clock out west. You are looking at live pictures now, the final flight of a space shuttle that never flew into space. We're talking about Enterprise. It's a prototype that was built in 1976 to actually test equipment and landings. Right now, it's circling New York City, en route to its final destination, as you heard Carol say there, on the Intrepid Floating Museum. Intrepid was displaced from its former home, a Smithsonian hangar in Virginia, by the shuttle Discovery, which did fly in space many, many times. We talked about that about 2 weeks ago. And watching the skies from Kennedy Airport this hour are Jason Carroll. Also, our John Zarella is at our Miami bureau. Jason, why don't we go ahead and start with you? What have you been able to see, hear, feel? Give us an understanding of the landscape right now.
Well, what do I hear right now? I think it's the Staple Singers singing that classic "I'll Take You There," and I think that's what they're playing right now. And the shuttles definitely took a lot of astronauts to a lot of different places. But as you say, the Enterprise actually never made into space, but still exciting nonetheless. Exciting for the hundreds of invited guests who are here at JFK. We're going to have speakers from NASA, speakers from the Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum, and also Leonard Nimoy, Spock, will be here speaking as well. We spoke to him just a few minutes ago, and he talked about how exciting it was for him. He was actually around in 1976 when the Enterprise made its debut. The whole crew of the Enterprise came out for that momentous occasion. As you know, the aircraft is named after the spaceship Enterprise, after TV fans wrote in and said, no, you shouldn't name it the Constitution, you should name it the Enterprise. So a lot of excitement here as we're now just minutes away from seeing the Enterprise make its momentous landing here at JFK. Once again, we're told the pilots are having a good time doing flyovers over the Hudson. They already did a flyover over the Intrepid Air and Space Museum. So now we're just waiting for it to make its way here. Kira?
Yeah, I mean, talk about the flyover of all flyovers, Jason. How many times have we been at the Super Bowl, at a NASCAR race, you know, at some sort of military event, and you get one little zoom by the fighter jets, right? This crew must be having a field day.
We've been at so many of those types of occasions, but for me and for a lot of folks here in the Northeast, this is a new one, because folks down in Florida, they're used to seeing the takeoffs and the landings, but for folks here in the Northeast, this is something entirely new. So you can imagine the excitement of, especially the little kids who are here. We saw a group of them dressed in blue, sort of like NASA space outfits, you know, absolutely incredibly adorable. And when I was speaking to Leonard Nimoy about that, he said, when you look at that what you are seeing is the future, this future of space travel. Hopefully a few astronauts in the bunch who will someday want to fly out into outer space as well.
All right, John Zarella, you connected with us still?
Yep, I have you, Kira.
All right, so why don't we talk a little bit more about the Enterprise, what we're seeing, other aircraft out there. Now it's getting ready, it's getting pretty close to the Intrepid, right? It's kind of hard for me to see from the banner. Is it coming up on the deck?
Not yet.
Okay,
I'm not even sure the landing gear are down yet.
Right. I can't see either. You have better eyes than I do. So why don't we talk a little bit first about the Enterprise, a little bit of background here, and you know, just all the shuttle action we've been seeing lately, from the Discovery to the Enterprise, and how they're switching. Oh, I think we might have possibly just got some land. Our shot froze there. Okay, we're trying to keep an eye on it. So go ahead, John.
You know, the Enterprise flew test flights. It flew 5 flights on the back of a 747, just like it is now, and it was released at about 25,000 feet to glide down over the Mojave Desert out there in California to land at the dry lake bed at Edwards, and all of that was to test the aerodynamics. Was the concept right? Could you actually have a winged body glide back to Earth safely? And we can see some of that old video from 1977. NASA didn't know if it would really work, if they could do it. You know, you're talking about a 150,000-pound spacecraft re-entering the Earth's atmosphere and then landing as a glider, not under any power. They did 5 of these glide tests, and, you know, Enterprise actually could have flown, and there was talk that it would fly after Columbia, but they found some structural issues and design issues in those last of those drop tests that they did, and decided it was cheaper to build another spacecraft. Ultimately, that would be Challenger, than it would have been to retrofit the Enterprise. So it went on to the Smithsonian in 1985 after traveling sort of as an ambassador for NASA all over the world. It was in Canada. It was at an air show in Paris. It was in Germany. It was at the U.S. World's Fair down in Louisiana. And then in 1985 went to the Smithsonian. But, you know, I like to say it's kind of the Rodney Dangerfield of space shuttles because, you know, it's the one that never flew into space, doesn't get a lot of respect. But if it hadn't been for those test flights with Enterprise, you know, NASA may never have, and had they not succeeded, you know, space shuttles may never have flown in space. And what a remarkable vehicle. You and I in our lifetimes will never see another vehicle like this again flying into space, sadly.
But still, if we look toward the future, there is still a lot going on with regard to space travel and all the independent, you know, wealthy folks out there, exactly, trying to make a commercial flight available to those who can afford it.
Yeah, in fact, just yesterday, I interviewed Elon Musk, the head of SpaceX, because his company is going to be launching the Dragon spacecraft a week from Monday, about 9:22 a.m., if all goes right, and they're going to attempt to rendezvous and berth with the International Space Station. No commercial company in history has ever attempted this, let alone done it, and it's going to usher in a whole new era in space travel. Commercial companies going to the space station, bringing supplies, bringing, you know, astronauts up there. Perhaps by 2016, he says he'll be ready to do that. And then NASA doing what NASA always did best, pressing that final frontier, as they said in Star Trek, you know, and building a rocket that will take humans out to an asteroid and ultimately onto Mars. So, you know, two separate tracks. NASA going into deep space, and then commercial companies, you know, doing all of this low Earth orbit work, and ultimately, you know, making low Earth orbit accessible and affordable, just like air travel has become. Kira?
All right, and one more question for you. And Chad, I promise we're coming to you in 2 seconds here because I know you're watching all the different angles and different cameras of where the shuttle is and sort of the flight path here. So my question to you, John Zarrella, once it touches down at JFK, at what point will it make its way to its final destination of the Intrepid, the floating museum there in NYC?
It's going to stay out at JFK for several weeks while they're moving some other aircraft around and making getting the Intrepid, the deck of the Intrepid ready, and I think it's going to be probably in early June when it will actually make its way on a barge up the Hudson River and out to that Intrepid site, and then it'll be lifted onto the deck of the carrier Intrepid. So that'll be another spectacular event and moment too to watch.
Definitely, because if you think about the Intrepid, all the different types of aircraft on the Intrepid, when you think of a carrier and all the assets that they have, it's going to be kind of cool to have the Enterprise there, add a different discussion. You know, those aircraft, they're not used to having a shuttle as a buddy there on a carrier.
No, I don't think you know, I don't think a shuttle's ever landed on a carrier, has it, Kira?
I missed the last part of what you just said. I'm sorry. I heard Chad chuckling. I was getting some direction on where we're going to go here.
He heard it.
Yeah. What'd you say, Zarrella?
I just said I don't think a shuttle has ever landed on a carrier. That will be a first.
That would be a first. And you know what? I'm not quite sure what wire it would get or how it would trap, but it would have to be pretty darn thick. Okay. All right. I'm getting direction now. Apologize I didn't hear the last thing that you said there. Stay with me, Zarrella. Also, our Jason Carroll's on the ground there at JFK. Chad Myers standing by with 6 different viewpoints of the Enterprise as it's coming in. We're just going to take a quick break here for a commercial. We'll be right back. Live pictures now. You are looking at the Enterprise, and it's getting quite the royal treatment with a grand entrance into New York City. The retired shuttle is riding in on top of NASA's 747 shuttle carrier aircraft, and the people in New York City, from what I'm told, are getting quite a flyover depending on where you are. Chad Myers, you've got a number of cameras. I guess they already flew by the Statue of Liberty, right?
Yes, they
okay.
did.
Where else did they? I mean, this is every. Can I tell you, this is every pilot's dream.
Yeah. This is like
the longest flyover ever. Look at my stuff. That's what I'm telling. Look at history. Look at my stuff. I'm having a good time.
This is the Circle Line going around and around Manhattan. This is the best
Till
flight.
they run out of gas.
Exactly. Landing gear still not down. Just made a very low pass over JFK. All the viewers, all the people there. We just saw Jason Carroll turn around and watch this fly over the top of his head. Amazing shots here. I think, Kira, we have more cameras on this shuttle than on a typical landing. Literally, I can tell you, people ask me, what's that stuff behind you? What's that blurry stuff behind you? What's all of our cameras, all of our signals? Router 1, there's you. You're on router 2. There you go. Another router 801 just went black. There's another router 843. We have so many cameras on this thing coming down. What we're really waiting for is the bottom of the plane to show that the landing gear is down. That's when we'll know we're just a few minutes away from it actually coming down, actually touching down. I want to see this thing, though, get on the barge. I want to see them load this thing. I want to see what kind of crane it's going to take to get this on the barge, and then what kind of cranes are going to do. Going to need to get it up on top of the carrier deck itself. That's going to be so interesting. People saying, is it hard to fly? Is this really hard to fly? Well, of course, the plane is top heavy a little bit. You wouldn't expect all that weight to be on top of a 747, but would you believe that with the shuttle on top, it doesn't weigh as much as if that plane was loaded with people and baggage? It's less than with people and baggage. So other than being top heavy, it's not that hard to fly.
You know, we've been trying desperately to get one of our astronaut buddies to call in. I tell you, we've had so many calls out, but the word is that most of them, Jason Carroll, are there either on the ground or at one of the locations wanting to be a part of history. Maybe if one of my buddies out there, former astronauts, might be watching CNN in one way or another, they could call in and just kind of tell us, you know, how they feel. But Jason, as we saw with the Discovery...
We'll try to find one for you.
Yeah, exactly. Could you do me a favor? Just kind of work your way through the crowd. I'm sure you'll find somebody. But in all seriousness, there were a number of the commanders, you know, at the Discovery's ceremony. And, you know, there's so many people that have been involved through the years with the Enterprise. Tell us what it's like there on the ground. And are people getting, every time it comes by, how do people react when they fly over?
Well, that ceremonial flyby was so exhilarating. The place erupted with applause, and I can tell you from the first time seeing it, it's a lot bigger up close. I mean, everyone talks about it, but when you see it fly by, you see the power of it. It's really quite amazing. And just to backtrack just a little bit before the break, did you and John Zarella call it the Rodney Dangerfield of shuttles?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me make it clear, Jason.
Yeah, you clarify that.
Let me clarify. That was our dear friend, John Zarella, and he's probably going to want to pipe in because the poor Enterprise, you know, if it could talk, would say, I can't get no respect.
Okay.
That's fair.
Okay, I will give you that.
It is now,
but
though.
Think about it in this way. Think about it in this way. The shuttles are still so popular that, some 29 cities were bidding to have the Enterprise come to their city. So the way that it shakes down now, you've got the Atlantis going to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. You've got the Endeavour going to California. You've got Discovery going to the Smithsonian in Virginia. So this is still a very big day for New York. There just aren't enough shuttles to go around. I mean, think about the people in Houston. They would love to have the Rodney Dangerfield of shuttles coming to their city. It is still a very exciting moment to have a shuttle come to a place like the Northeast.
I'll tell you what, we'll take it over to John and Chad just for a little bit here. Jason, maybe you might have a chance to kind of work the crowd. I don't know if anybody is close to you that might be somehow tied to aviation, to space, that might want to talk to us about what they're watching there right next to you. You let us know.
We'll search them out.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, give us a holler then.